Hello and welcome to the Home Screen Podcast. This is episode 8. It's going to be a slightly different one than normal, trying something out. This is the first solo episode, so I don't have a guest on this one. It's also going to be the first gaming episode. When I started this podcast, it was always going to be about film, TV and game reviews, and so far it's primarily been film reviews because I thought it would be quite hard to do a conversation and review on a game. However, this episode is a special one, as you'll find out why very soon. For those that don't know, I do quite a bit of gaming on the side. I love watching films as a hobby, but I've always been gaming, I guess, since I was like 11, 12 years old. And the game that I've sunken the most hours into over the past 10 years is Destiny by Bungie. So Destiny 1, and then moving into Destiny 2. I play this game a lot. I've been playing it pretty consistently over the last 10 years. I started playing in January of 2015, I believe. And across the two games, I think I have something like 4,000 hours played. So yeah, I play a lot of Destiny. Okay, so why is he talking about Destiny so much? Well, that's because the recent expansion, The Final Shape, has finally just come out. For those that don't know, this is the last big expansion for the first saga of the game. So when Destiny first came out, they said this is going to be a 10-year saga. It's telling stories for at least 10 years in this universe. And this expansion, The Final Shape, came out on the 4th of June, and I've been playing this a lot. Because this is the expansion that's wrapping up the Light and Dark saga, this first 10-year saga of the game, it really does feel like an Avengers Endgame moment. For a lot of people have come back to the game to sort of see it out. Before the DLC came out, a lot of people said this is probably going to be where a lot of people hop off. Everyone will come back to experience the hype and the reveals and the gameplay and everything of The Final Shape to cap off their 10-year saga, and then some people might hop off the bandwagon, which might be the case. But the point I'm trying to make is this is quite a significant moment for the Destiny player base. And so I really wanted to do a review of this as my first review episode on the channel. This might be quite rambly because it's a solo episode and there's no one to really bounce off. I'm just kind of rattling through thoughts because I've been playing this a lot over the first 10 days. I kind of wanted to wait until this 10-day period, until I've experienced essentially everything that I could glean from the DLC. I didn't want to just do first impressions because there's the story, there's the raid, the post-story content, there's a new subclass, Prismatic. I'm going to start off non-spoilers, and then I will let you know when I'm going to be delving into spoilers so I can talk about the story and my thoughts on it. And then I'll let you know when there's going to be spoiler talk. So for clarification, I beat the story on Legendary in a team and solo. I've done all the post-story quests, the Wild Hunt, the Microcosm, etc. I'm at power level 2000. I've beaten every encounter in the new raids in the first week. I've done the finale mission. I've got the exotic class item. One of the only major things I haven't really gotten yet is the Kvostov because my quest was glitched. But I would say that I've kind of gleaned every aspect of gameplay that I can from this expansion. So, spoiler-free for the next few minutes, I'm going to dive into my thoughts on the DLC. So, the TLDR is that this is the best DLC that Destiny's ever had. That's my opinion, but it's pretty objective. When you look at the OpenCritic and Metacritic scores, it's currently the highest rated game of 2024, which is just an insane thing to be saying. As a Destiny player, as part of the Destiny community, it's always been clowned on as this kind of oddball in the industry that has a really hardcore, die-hard fan base, but the outside industry and stuff never really perceives it very well. Outlets such as IGN and people will have people who will be their Destiny go-tos and such, but it's kind of similar to, I guess, Final Fantasy in some ways and WoW, in that it has a really dedicated community, but outside of that, it's always looked on slightly oddly. This has broken that. This has really made its way into mainstream media, which I love to see. It's actually wild that it is as highly rated as like 93, 94 on OpenCritic, which is the highest rated game of 2024, which is just like, it's like unfathomable how good that is, and it makes me so happy that it's been received this well because it truly is this good. So the story, spoiler-free, talking about the story holistically, it's great. Short recap for those that don't know or need a bit of a refresher. The overarching goal of the story is to stop the Witness. The Witness is this entity of darkness that's infiltrated the heart of the Traveller, which has kind of been the centerpiece for the past 10 years. We have to get in there and stop the Witness from enacting the Final Shape, which is essentially its perfect view of the universe frozen in stillness. There's a lot of lore and things I can get into, but that's essentially it. We have to get in and stop the big bad. It's really cleverly laid out in a 7-mission campaign with quests and strikes and lost sectors interspliced in between it. We have to work our way through the destination in quite linear spaces to get to the monolith to stop the Witness. I thought the story was really good. Without saying too much, the first half of the story is essentially a lot of getting the band back together and regrouping, which was good. At the start, I was a bit hesitant because I thought, oh no, are we really going to waste 4 missions getting the band back together? Then there's only 3 missions of real meat on the bone stuff. Those concerns were squashed quite quickly when I realised the quality of the missions. I was like, okay, actually, we're in safe hands. And even though it seems quite predictable what they're doing with the structure of the first half of it, the mission design was great. The voice acting, the cutscenes, the environment, everything was great. And then the second half is when it really got into its stride, breaks out into a sprint. There's plot twists, crazy cinematics, some quite freaky body horror, like world design stuff, which I didn't think I'd ever seen a Destiny expansion. Like when you look back to even like Destiny 2 vanilla, like at launch, and you compare it to now, it's like 2 different games. The story comes to a nice crescendo, which then waits for the resolution to happen in the raid. For those that can't experience the raid, then it unlocks a finale mission. I'm not going to say what happens in it, but I am going to say that I think it really beautifully and quite succinctly wraps up the 10-year saga. And pardon the constant comparison, but it really does have its Avengers Endgame moment, which is such a good thing. I'm so happy that it actually managed to stick the landing. It's great. And the last spoiler-free thing I'm going to say is Prismatic, which is a new subclass, is insanely fun. It has so many options for build crafting and stuff, and the kit that it gives you right from the get-go are essentially good-to-go builds with like stasis combination blow build for the Hunter, a knockout diamond lance build from Titan. Like, it gives you good stuff to start with, but you can really then start to cater it, and some of the builds are actually broken, like insanely good stuff. So it's really fun. Okay, so that's the spoiler-free section out of the way. I'm now going to be delving into spoilers. We're going to retouch on Prismatic really quickly. In the weeks leading up to release, I think they really undersold just how fun it is by tempering expectations, saying you can only combine certain things. In actuality, it's really fun. You can really combine a lot of things that synergize well, even things that don't. My Hunter build doesn't synergize with each other at all, but it's just fun just like sticking on the fun abilities you want to use. Combining like grapple with golden gun, with stasis shurikens, with a freezing dodge, with combination blow. Like, you can do some really fun stuff. Then when builds start to synergize with each other, it really clicks. Like, people that haven't gotten into build crafting in Destiny, this is the most accessible way to do so, because they literally just give you all the tools. And most of the time, whatever combination of stuff you put on will synergize with each other in some kind of way. But if you can understand it and get your head around it, it's the most fun gameplay loop the game's ever had. And that's always been one of Destiny's main selling factors, I think, is being able to tell people, oh, but even if you don't understand the story and the end game and stuff, like, it's a fun feeling game to play. The gunplay feels solid, the abilities feel solid, and it's never felt better to play than now. So the story. I really liked the story. I really liked how we foiled the Witness and injured them, and then beat them in the raids, and then finally killed them in the Excision 12-player incredible mission. It did feel jarring at first to hear Keith David's rendition of Zavala after tragically losing Lance Reddick last year, but I think he did a lot in this role. It's a very Zavala-centric story, especially with him being tempted by the darkness. To me, it felt slightly, I don't know, to me it felt like quite a rapid decline into embrace the darkness from Zavala, but I guess that he was really at his wit's end and being tempted. So for me, that felt slightly out of character, but I guess this is the culmination of his storyline and all the things with Saphir and his son and the grief there. So I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. To me, it felt like quite a rapid embrace of the darkness from Zavala, but obviously that got turned around. Sarge sacrificed himself, and he comes back to regroup with the Vanguard as we go towards the final missions. The mission design was really cool, and the difficulty scaling on Legend was quite nice. I did actually think it was harder the more people you had in it. Solo Legend, obviously, you die, you wipe. 2-player felt okay. 3-player actually felt quite hard. I think that the boss health and enemies scaled pretty strongly with that. I actually think that if you wanted to do this, I would probably recommend doing it solo or duo. 2 or 3 people on some of the latter boss fights actually felt pretty challenging. Not impossible, especially for people that play the game a lot. It's definitely not that big of a challenge. So the raid. The raid is one of the best they've done, probably up there with the best they've done. It's not a very casual friendly raid, and I'm dreading LFGing this week in, week out, because everyone has to have a role. There are some encounters, like the first, the third, and potentially the Witness, where people can just kind of idly ad clear, but it is quite a demanding raid. Everyone has to know what's going on, and there has to be quite good communication. So I quite like it in that way. The design of the raid and the actual environments that you run through are the best in the franchise. Up there with like Vow of the Disciple and Last Wish have some really cool scenery and stuff, but this is just a whole nother level. Like, I actually look forward to clearing encounters so I can experience the platforming sections in between them, especially between the second and third encounter. It's just so cool to feel you are actually like scaling this monolith. And then the Witness was a really cool boss design, one of the most fun DPS phases in the franchise, with having to move through his attacks as he's doing that. I also quite liked that, I know there was complaints around the build up to the raid race only being 3 days from launch to Friday, but I actually quite liked how they baked that into the game. You finish the campaign and then the quest progression stops and it said prepare for the final shape. And there was even like a timer to the raid release on the director. Like, it felt like there was a real, okay, here we go, we have to prepare everything for the raid. So the race was really cool. It was really hard. I ended up putting, I think it was like 15 hours into contest mode. Didn't get very far, but then ended up clearing every encounter in week 1, which was quite nice to get the emblem and to get that done in week 1. So I'm looking forward to when the LFG population in general can grasp the most common strategies, because I'm looking forward to quite clearing it, start to finish, sitting down like hour and a half, every encounter back to back. I think it'll be a really fun experience. Excision was incredible. The cutscene was incredible to start with. Really cool to see everything coming together in that sense. And a very emotional ending. Killing the Witness by harnessing the power of your ghost, self-sacrificing himself, and then Cade giving up his light to re-empower our ghost. Really well done. I'm no notes, honestly. Super happy, had a little cry. Playing that sleep deprived after attempting the raid race, really beautifully and well crafted and well handled. Post story questing, there's some really nice quests in the post campaign, some going back to old locations like Europa and things. There is one for the Still Hunt Sniper with Cade and Aldrin. That's probably one of the most fun exotic quests. That's not like a timer, like hard exotic quests like Whisper or the exotic class items, but in just exotic quest missions. Probably one of my favorites. Really enjoyed that one. Also like some of the nice dialogue options if you're playing as a hunter interacting with Cade and Crow. The Microcosm quest was really cool, revisiting some of the latter campaign missions with added modifiers and mechanics. That was cool. And Kvostov looks great. My quest is bugged, but I'm going to get it. And from what I've seen, it looks really, really fun. Last thing I'm going to say is the exotic class items. The mission is good, and I actually am all for it being a 2-player mission. They've never had a 2-player mission before where the mechanics are solely focused on you have to have 2 people to do it. And it was nice seeing them experiment in that way of there has to be communication with 2 people, calling what each other sees, standing on different plates, calling symbols. I really liked it. I don't know if the fun of it is going to wear off slightly, if that is the most effective way to farm them. We'll see with that. I am actually in favour for this being a 2-player mission, considering that you can just clear it once and then you can also get them to drop from overthrow chests and world chests. So if you haven't done it, I would urge you to hop in LFG and run it, because it is really fun. And that's kind of it. I'm really sorry for anyone that doesn't really know much about Destiny or the franchise and gaming and that sort of stuff. This is just kind of like more of a passion review from me, having put in so much hours over the past 10 years. I thought this would be quite a nice one to actually render some thoughts on a game. I played an insane amount of this over the past 10 days, but I'm really happy with the content that Bungie put out, and yeah, I fully agree. It is a 9.5 out of 10 for me. It is so high up there. It deserves all the praise, and it could be actually insane if we get to the Game Awards in December and Destiny gets some kind of recognition at the Game Awards. Doesn't always matter about awards and things, but I think it would be nice to see Bungie get their flowers for this. Amidst the turbulence of the layoffs and the acquisition and everything that's happened, for them to pull this gem together, Bungie's always their best when their backs are against the walls, and they knocked it out of the park with this one. So I'm so happy. So that's my review for Destiny 2, The Final Shape. So if you enjoyed this, please consider following and sharing. Every listen, every follow, every share means a huge deal to me. So yeah. So thanks for listening, and tune in next time.